So, hello, Emma. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing great. So, I'm really excited for today getting to talk with you and talk about your victories, talk about your story and how far you've come. It's just a really special day and it's been an absolute honor to work with you. Um, so tell me just like how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very ready. You know, like this is like after this call, it's gonna be like I'm gonna be out on my own, and so technically, and so it'll be weird, but I'm ready. You know?
Mm, yeah, that's awesome. And I'm really happy to hear that you feel ready, like confident. That's huge. That's awesome. So really this video is for people who like they've been struggling with binge eating or yo-yo dieting or restricting something of that kind, food obsession, you know what it's like. And they're looking for a change. And maybe they're thinking about, talking with me about it or potentially working with me. And they want to know a little bit more about like what it's like. So I just would like you to share a little bit about like where you were before we started working together. Um, yeah, just kind of where you were at.
Well, I'd have to say I was kind of deep into my binge eating disorder, and I wasn't really like family and relationships. I felt that like kind of downgrading. Like I had just gotten over my eating disorder, like my restrictive eating disorder, but then I had like developed this binge eating disorder, which is like normal for eating disorder anorexic patients. But I just started to lose myself again, and it was like kind of weird because I'm like, oh, why am I eating so much? Like it just felt unnatural and very scary. And so I didn't want to tell my parents about it because it was embarrassing. And so I was just looking for people like to help or like some sort of community that kind of got me and that I might have found support or like other that I wasn't the only one. So I guess that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah. And before, so you had just come out of like some inpatient care and recovery from anorexia, right?
Hmm.
Okay. But now this was showing up, and yeah, like you said, it's pretty common, and it's a really frustrating thing to come out of kind of like one eating disorder and then feel like you're falling back into another one. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and can you share like what made you decide to say like to decide to work with me because you were looking for a community? What made you decide to say yes?
So I did find a community and like there were a couple therapists and nutritionists that like kind of specialized in like the binge eating disorder thing that I had also found, but none of them really clicked with what I like how I learned and how I grew. So I just kept looking, and then on Instagram I saw you from I don't know how like came across your page, but I guess it was just because like it's like recommended. And so I saw you and I checked you out and like checked more of your stuff and your more content and things like that out. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. I really would like to give this a try. And so I talked to my parents about it, and they're like, well, this was kind of the first time I was coming out about my binge eating disorder to them. And so they were kind of like, what do you need this for? I'm like, well, so I kind of just had told them that it was for my eating disorder because technically it was, but they didn't know what eating disorder. So I guess that's how I came about to find you.
Yeah. Okay. And one thing that really stood out to me, Emma, about you is like how brave you were. And like, I mean, we had just started talking about it, and then, you went to your parents and asked them for their support. Also, just so people kind of understand where you're coming from, can you share how old you are?
I'm 16, almost 17 in August.
Okay, so you were like, okay, this is going to be, this felt like right, like it clicked for you, and then you asked your parents, and actually your dad kind of said no at first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people when they're going through something like this, for me too, when I was get getting help, um, we need support from a family member, someone to like help us do that, right? And that can be really scary, especially if it's your first time talking about what's going on. So, and you were really brave. So, do you mind sharing just like kind of what that was like to ask for that help?
Well, so I had really contemplated it for a couple days because I'm like, okay, I really, really, really want to help, and I like really want to grow and things like that. And so one day I was kind of just like, hey, father, so um, there's this therapist on Instagram that I found, and she kind of helps with. She specializes in my disorder, and I was wondering if you could check her out and maybe see if I could get help. And he's like, so and checked you out as well and sought yeah sought what he was like looking for, and he was kind of started to click after he learned more about what you were talking about, so he's like, oh, so that's kind of how I went about it.
Mm, yeah. And it's okay if you don't remember, but do you know what like clicked for him or what made him want to say yes?
I think that call that we did, the first call with my like you and my parents, that kind of like because he wanted to know what you did and he wanted to know the benefits and if I was really going to get my 100% out of it. And he wanted to know if I was determined to get better as well. And yeah,
Yeah.
money is a big thing as well. So he was kind of iffy about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know he was iffy at first, but fortunately it worked out. So, and so tell me like when, because you were really wanting help, what was like your main goal to get out of our work together?
My main goal was to learn more about my journey and my trial that I went through instead of thinking myself as a failure, and to also achieve happiness and peace and balance with my body and food and my mind. So,
Hmm.
yeah, relationship stuff.
Relationship stuff.
Well,
What
relationship stuff with my body, pretty much.
Okay, yeah, yeah, and food, right? Okay, so yeah, and um, actually, especially for you, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit here, but you said that you had talked to a few different therapists and you talked to me, and then there was something about the learning. Can you explain kind of what, like, what's your learning style and why did it feel like it would work well for you?
So, I like the way that you kind of, well, okay, so the therapists that I kind of had first looked at were more, they weren't get her done, not like get her done, but like they weren't
That's okay. I like that phrase.
pretty much they were more like take it slow, and I kind of wanted more of like, and they didn't talk about like homework and things like actually doing. They just talked about talking and basically people ranting, and that's like a normal therapist, and I kind of wanted more of a therapist that would guide me in the right direction so I knew what to do from day to day and
Mm,
I could stay accountable because you are very good at keeping me accountable, which
okay.
I
Which you what?
Needed.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that was a really big thing that I needed as well. Okay, good. So yeah, a little bit more in the doing. Although we did do a lot of talking as well. Um,
Needed.
yeah, but it definitely helps to have that so you can feel like you're actually moving forward, I think. And so, what happens inside of working together that you feel like helped you?
Well, um, definitely all the advice and all the, I would consider them quotes, like the very motivational quotes that you gave me, and like new coping mechanisms and new like strategies to go about like eating and mindfulness and things like that, and reversing thoughts and like rephrasing things, and I just really like that.
Mm, yeah. Awesome. And were like, was there any specific like strategy or method that particularly impacted you or that you remember you found really helpful?
Um so the one that really impacted me the most, that really 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 helped,
Hmm.
was the seagull method. Like, how you would look in a mirror, and if you'd start to have negative thoughts about your body, you'd think about like a flying seagull really, really detailedly, or just something like a flower. And um, yeah, that really helped because I my my body image and like my comparison to others is really terrible. The amount of times I've compared myself is not really healthy, and so that has this really helped.
Mm. Yeah, and so people kind of understand that it's the Siegel method. I won't explain it in detail here, but it's basically just a method for redirecting your thoughts. And sometimes we just have a habit of comparing ourselves to others, and we need to redirect that. Think about something else and practice that. It's kind of like people practicing gratitude. Um, instead of practicing frustration and complaint. Um, so awesome. I'm really glad that that was helpful for you. And can you share also, like, I forgot to ask this, where you're at now in comparison to where you were when we started working together?
Wow. Well, I'd have to say, before, um, my I would probably binge almost every day, and then my body image in comparison was not good, and so that would also trigger the binge, and so I would have to say it is a lot better because now I would consider myself binge free, and my body image slash coping mechanisms has really gotten better. So a lot, very far. I've gotten very far from where I first began.
Yeah. And what's like one of the like biggest like things in real life that you now are able to do that like that makes you know that it's a big difference? Does that make sense?
Well, I guess, oh, yeah, it's family time. Family time and the stress, the mental stress, and I can actually focus on homework instead of thinking about everything pretty much. And yeah, I just get to spend a lot more time with my family. My my food and exercise relationship is better because like it's very stressful to have to think about all of that, and to have to feel like you have to keep losing weight, but it's just, yeah, I just see all that stress being very relieved.
Hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and I think some of the biggest victories have been, well, actually, you shared before this call, right? Getting to like spend that time with your family, eating and having fun and celebrating instead of worrying about food and binging and all that other stuff, um, which is so awesome. And yeah, I'm so happy to hear that for you. And um, as far as like, I mean, you mentioned a few different things that it impacted in your life, um, like schoolwork and family. Was there anything else that it impacted as far as in the rest of your life?
Energy, focus, um, my attitude. um,
Attitude. Although you have always been pretty positive. What about your attitude?
well, probably like sometimes I'd get really angry slash just mad at thoughts and things like that that I would like snap at other people or just have these long periods of depression and just sadness. Yeah.
Hmm. Thanks for
Yeah.
being so open about that.
Mhm.
And so people who are considering getting help, a lot of the time they're kind of thinking like, is this really going to help me? You know, they have doubts and fears and worries. Um, what kind of like hesitations or fears did you have about working together on this?
I really doubted that I would be helpable. Like I kind of assumed, ah, I'm the one in a million person who just can't be helped, and I have to be sad forever. But that and I didn't know how people would think of me if, like, my mother and father. I didn't know how they would think of me. I didn't know how my sister and brother would think of me. Um, yeah, and I honestly didn't think it would work because, again, one in a million person who just can't be helped. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's like pretty, the biggest doubt that I had myself too. I was like, gosh, I don't know if I'm the one person this person can't fix.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what happened that made you feel safe enough to just kind of take that leap of faith?
Well, I think it was reminders that reminders of maybe afterwards when I am recovered or when I have gotten help that life would have been much better and stressless and just help of all the positives, pros and cons and things like that. And also, yeah, just like the after effects. Just kept reminding myself of that.
Hmm. Like you mean of what could possibly, how you could benefit in the
Hmm.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's like well, that actually kind of brings me to what did you, or what do you, where do you think you would be now if we hadn't worked together?
Um, probably probably in the same sad hole looking for more help, but like as we were working together, I kind of had to delete my Instagram accounts, so I don't know where I would have gotten the help. I kind of would have just been I probably would have gotten worse and in the same cycle of and binge.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm so glad you took that leap of faith. And again, it was like brave, super brave. And that's a big thing that this really takes because it's, you know, it's scary and it's uncomfortable, you know. Um, so and Was there anything else like about like the process that you were worried you'd have to do or try that you like did or didn't have to do?
I was afraid of change. So, like, I was afraid because I had built this personality slash who I am around my eating disorders. And I was afraid if I had given that up, I wouldn't know who I was. I would have to build a whole nother person, and I didn't want that to be a bad thing. And I was also afraid. Sorry, they're like having a NASCAR race out there. Anyways, um, I was like also afraid that I I would be confident. Like I've always been this timid little girl who was always giving into other people's wants and needs, and I was afraid that I was gonna finally find that confidence in myself so other people couldn't beat me down and be happy, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
No.
It does. Yeah. And actually, like, that was one thing kind of like we talked about a couple of different things outside of binge eating when we were working together. And that was kind of one of them, right? It was like kind of taking ownership of your own opinions and being confident. Um, and what's my question here? I want to know like if you would share what's the difference now that you're are do you feel more confident? What's that like?
I do feel more confident. I feel like I have you I've kind of gained this perspective that everybody is unique. Everybody doesn't have to be the same. Everybody has their own body. Everybody has their own personality. And I'm glad that I'm more confident because now I can think that and I can think so unique just as him and her and them and all those people. It's just I'm glad that I see that way now.
Hmm.
Very much so.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And Emma, what would you say to someone if they are feeling like maybe they're kind of waiting and thinking, kind of like you spent those first couple of days wondering about whether they should make a move to get some help or hire someone? What would you say to that person if they were in that position right now?
I would say getting help is cool. You don't have to think it's not cool. It is cool, for one. And second of all, why do you think you deserve to not get help? What are you afraid of? And whatever you're afraid of, take those chances and what possibly could happen. If it doesn't work out, you can always quit if you don't like it. But do you I can I can tell that people want to change when they're considering it means that they want to change and they want to learn for the better. So they might not know that yet, but taking that leap of faith and taking that leap to change would definitely be life changing. Like you don't realize how much it helps you until it's actually achieved, but you gotta work for it.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, it's like it is cool to get support. Like I have so much support. I'm constantly getting mentors for myself and asking people about health, about fitness, about like a pain that I have, about something I'm going through. So I totally agree with you there. And um, yeah, I just really appreciate you saying that. And what would you recommend to someone who's thinking about working with me?
I would definitely recommend doing it because you're awesome and you've helped me a lot. You've helped a lot of other people. And if they really want results fast or if they really want their mindset to be changed in miraculous ways, super miraculously fast, you somehow know how to do that. So I definitely recommend you. Definitely.
Thank you, Emma. Well, it's been an absolute honor to work with you. Particularly, you're incredibly coachable, and just open and vulnerable, and that's like, it's incredible. Um, and is there anything else that you would like to share?
Thank you. That's what I want to share. Thank you very much. You've helped
You're
me so
so
much, and I don't think you understand, but you've been amazing. So very much.
You're welcome, Emma. And what was I gonna say? So, is what's next for you?
Well, practice makes perfect. So I'm definitely going to keep practicing what you preached and practicing mindfulness and balance and all the things that are building blocks to a happier, balanced life for sure.
Mm, awesome. Yeah, that's great. And actually, I realized I forgot to mention, um, how long have we been working together? I think we started together in November or December. I
This is definitely, I think it was November.
think it was November. So, and now it is March, November, December, January, February, March. So it's been about 5 months. Although I know we skipped a couple of weeks in there, like maybe like 3 or 4.
Vacation.
Your vacation, yeah. Need some mental health time. That was my vacation.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's been an amazing 5-ish months, and yeah, just thanks again for letting me support you, Emma.
Thank you for being willing to support me and being there for even when I was crying, and thank you for being patient with me when I forgot a lot of things, and thank you for constantly sending me the homework and giving me reminders and being gentle. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Um, all right. Well, thanks again, and you know that I am always and open to any reaching out at any point. But yes, go off and tackle that continuous growth.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right.